You know, the worst thing that happened to me when I was a kid wasn't that time I watched a clown die, or that time I set myself on fire, or even that time my grandfather made me take a shower with him. Nah, the worst thing that happened to me when I was a kid was I'd be watching a great cartoon, I'd get to an awesome cliffhanger.
Prepare yourselves for the hunt.
And then just nothing. Like seriously, the fuck? So that's what I'm counting down. It's my top 5 cartoons that'll never get resolved. Some rules going in: the show can't be getting continued elsewhere, and it has to have some kind of ongoing plot that never finished. It can't just be a show you think got canceled too soon. Now let's roll.
Alright guys, let's get to work!
Number 5. When you were a kid, did you ever watch the old Voltron show and wonder what it would be like if every character were a massive douche? Well, in 2010, Adult Swim actually tried to answer that question with the series. An entire series dedicated to making you fall in love with weirdos piloting giant robots all over again. What made the show so fun was how much reverence it paid to its source material while still taking the time to mock it absolutely mercilessly. But unfortunately, the series ended on episode 9 with the entire cast about to be burned to death along with an entire planet of old people. No official reason was ever given for its cancellation, which is especially weird because it would consistently edge out the Venture Bros in ratings with new episodes. However, there are some rumors that Seth Green, who was heavily involved in the production of the show, pulled the plug to focus on an increasingly unfunny robot chicken. At this point, the show's been pretty much purged from everybody's memories, but hey, who knows? Maybe one day they'll surprise us and bring the whole thing back.
Yeah, we could do that, but yeah, we're not gonna.
Maybe if you wished real hard, it would happen.
Wish! 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 Wish!
How about a fist-head screwdriver?
Number 4. Imagine a world where there was a Hot Wheels show that wasn't just Mattel trying to suck its own dick, screaming,
I'll do it!
well, odds are that the world you imagined looked a little something like Motor City, a show that premiered on Disney XD in 2012. Set in a post-apocalyptic, yet still somehow less shitty version of Detroit, the Burners must defend their home from Abraham Cain, who wants to force everyone out of Motor City so that they can live as drones in his own city, Detroit Deluxe. And before I go on, can I just say that this is the best looking show that Disney has ever produced? And I'm not just talking about the fight scenes or the excellent action, the whole show just has this great sense of style that makes the whole thing fun to watch, which is made even more impressive by the fact that the whole thing was done in Flash animation. Motor City was cancelled after just 1 season, with no real resolution to any of the major plot threads. There has been some talk of a revival along with Megas XLR, but honestly, I doubt we'll ever see this show again, and that's a shame. Number 3. Remember when MTV used to make cartoons, some of which were actually pretty frickin' good?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, well, he's dead, so piss off. Clone High is the last of these cartoons. It focuses on cloned versions of famous historical figures like Gandhi, Abe Lincoln, Joan of Arc, Cleopatra, and John F. Kennedy. The whole show was basically 90210 meets Saved by the Bell on acid. Most episodes boiled down to taking a standard high school drama topic and seeing how far they could push it into absurdity. Like this one, where the students are convinced that they can smoke raisins to get high. Another thing that made the show interesting was all the guest stars. I mean, you had people like Jack Black, Marilyn Manson, John Stamos, and a bunch of other celebrities who would just show up seemingly out of nowhere. It all ends on prom night with the entire cast getting frozen. You never find out what Abe was gonna tell Joan, and they even do that whole to be continued thing with the question mark, like even they weren't sure if the show was actually coming back. There's been some talk of bringing Clone High back as late as 2014, but apparently licensing issues make that basically impossible. Creators Phil Lord and Chris Miller were totally screwed after the failure of Clone High. Last I heard, they were so broke they were making movies out of Legos, and that's just tragic. Number 2. So what do you get when you mix Robin, Black Aquaman, Mexican Iron Man, and Green Molly Ringwald? You get
The world's greatest
shoot for friends.
Nah. You get Young Justice, a show that a lot of people thought was basically going to be the second coming of superhero Jesus. And while it's not the best superhero show ever made, it is the one with the most painful cliffhanger, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Young Justice follows the sidekicks as they act as the Justice League's sort of junior Black Ops squad. The whole thing was like a DC nerd's wet dream, with cameos from people like Plastic Man, Guy Gardner, and even the main man, Lobo. A lot of people talk about how good the show looked, but I was always more impressed with the soundtrack. Like, seriously, this OST is fucking huge. There's like 44 songs on this thing. It's amazing. But anyway, the show got cancelled after just 2 seasons, despite strong ratings and critical acclaim. According to Paul Dini, who did some very similar work for Cartoon Network, this was because Young Justice had a large female audience, which the executives didn't like. To me, this sounds pretty stupid because personally, if people were giving me money, I wouldn't care what was between their legs.
Oh my!
The series ends with some pretty major setups for what looked like the final season. Unlike some other superhero shows, this one has no continuation in the comics, and Cartoon Network has straight up denied any chance for crowdfunding a finale, so the odds of us ever getting any real resolution are pretty much zero.
Business as usual.
Number 1. Genndy Tartakovsky has a rich history of making great stuff that gets cancelled way too early. In fact, this entire video could have been of stuff that he either created or helped produce that just never got to wrap up. But instead, we're looking at my favorite of his work, and what is in my opinion the best cartoon with an unresolved cliffhanger, Sym-Bionic Titan. The series follows 3 aliens named Lance, Ilana, and Octus, who escape from their home planet to hide out on Earth as high schoolers.
I don't know how to read.
And if that sounds cliche, that's because it is. The show wears its inspiration on its sleeves, and many of the characters are based on some kind of trope, whether it's the angry old military guy, the badass Men in Black wannabe, or the bitchy cheerleader. What really made Sym-Bionic Titan special was its execution. It really shined with its character development throughout the series, its excellent fight scenes, and what is in my opinion the best stripper dance in Cartoon Network history. Series creator Genndy Tartakovsky said that the reason the show was cancelled was due to a lack of toys associated with the brand. And that's a shame because by the end of the first season, all the main characters had been pretty well developed and it seemed like they were gearing up to take on the main story back on their home planet. At this time, there are no plans for a revival. The production company that made it, Orphanage Animation Studios, has since closed down, and Cartoon Network seems to be fine with letting it fade into obscurity. But at least we'll always have our memories. Hey guys, so that's the end of my first YouTube video ever. Any comments or advice would be really appreciated. The channel's gonna focus mostly on cartoons and anime, so if that interests you, then I'd appreciate you coming back. And if you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend you check out Rebel Taxi since I kinda ripped off his style to make this video. Thanks.